I thought I would show how I do my handles for, let me see, let me use my cell phone because the camera's better on it. The spotlight here. And then you
That's a
just got to
beautiful
give me a
piece
minute
of
to,
maple.
yeah, it sure is. So I thought I would show how I make my offset handles that I use for my um, rolling pins. So I thought that would be neat. So, completed project there. And then, so here are a couple examples. And then how you shape the end, it's all up to you, So, but the big thing, what I'm wanting to show is how I get the faceted end, faceted top, and then the faceted sides. And they're real nice in the hand. They're very, very ergonometric. I can have a regular handle on a rolling pin and one of these, and I'll always come home with the regular regular handles on them. So piece of cherry. This is a piece of mesquite that I ebonized with iron acetate, and then I left the white sapwood. So I thought that was kind of cute. So all right, well, with that, let me get set up here real quick and see what kind of damage we can do.
Are you sure you want to dirty that nice shop?
Well, I just cleaned up, right here, make it look like I don't do anything. So
Looks way too clean.
Yeah, I'd be a lot more comfortable, Dane, if there was shavings hanging from everything.
oh, there will be. There will be. There
Yeah,
will be.
just come to my shop, Matt. You'll see all of that.
I watched part of your video yesterday, Billy. There's no question in my mind that your shop and my shop are kindred spirits.
Hey, want to see a messy shop? I'll take my computer downstairs. Make both of yours look clean.
No, my shop hasn't been cleaned since I cleaned it, since I put the lathe in.
So I got a few blanks set up. And so what we can do a split screen, and we can possibly see the body mechanics of me dancing at the lathe as I'm turning. Scott, I'm going to leave that up to you to remove and or add.
We got you both.
All right, well, that means I hit the right buttons, so that's good. Let's see, try to get the camera here. Keep in mind the laptop is kind of new for me to use, so yeah, it looks like you can see me dancing should I dance. All right, so got a couple different options here for blanks. I could use, kind of weird looking back to the laptop instead of looking at the cell phone, so this is kind of weird. So I got mesquite and I got cherry. What would you guys like to see done?
Make one out of cherry.
Make
Please.
one out of cherry. Cherry. One of the few times that democracy works.
So what size blank and how long?
I'm getting to it. So you guys want to do a screenshot? The camera's not coming through. I'll send this in to Dave. So I start with a basically it's a 6-inch block. I do all my measurements in millimeters, so I have to do all the conversions. So 6-inch block by 1.5 inches, 1 3/8, roughly.
Okay.
30. Yeah. something like that. And so the first thing that I do is the camera coming through okay?
Yeah, it looks, yeah, we can see
Yeah,
everything. Dane.
absolutely.
Okay, good.
That looks
Okay.
good.
And so I'm starting, so first thing I do, you start with a square block. You want to have your ends cut square. Find your center. You want to drill, for me, I use 1/4 inch brass rod going in between to connect the handles inside the rolling pin. So I have a hole that is drilled 1/4 inch and it goes through 37 millimeter, which is approximately 1.5 inches. And then on the back side, obviously find your centers. And then I use a 6 millimeter offset from the center. And the offset is what you use to turn the faceted handle end. And for that, so I use 2 different, aside from your live center. So initially starting out when I'm roughing the blank, I use a dead center, 60-degree dead center. And that nests perfectly inside of the 1/4 inch hole. And then after I turn the tenon, which goes inside of the rolling pin by 1/2 inch. Weird, I'm not seeing myself on my camera, but I can see it on the laptop, so that's good. So there's a 1/2 inch tenon that is turned here on the handle itself that sits inside the rolling pin itself. So that's the critical. And so once I get that turned, then I will switch to a stub center. And the stub center allows you to have good amount of force to hold between centers without any fear of breaking or blowing out that tendon that is now weakened because you got a hole going through it and there's a small wall on it. There's only 3/16 of an inch wall on it. But it sits nicely on the taper of the stub center, and then you got the back wall of the stub center, so you can push, and you ain't got to worry about splitting out that tenon. So that's important, or at least it is on my end of it. If you don't have a stub center, you could also turn yourself a piece of wood, put it in the chuck, make yourself a 1/4 inch tenon to go inside the hole that you drilled, and then ensure that you have a wall on the backside. That way, it nests and rests just like it does on the stub center. Does that make sense?
Is the 1/4 inch hole for a steel rod to go through the rolling pin?
Yes, it is. Because inside my rolling pins, I put a bearing on each side. That way everything rolls nice and smooth. Now you got to worry about wood movement, binding up against the metal, the brass rod. Any questions on that? 9. And then so whenever I'm doing between centers, especially when I've got multi got different access points, I always want to make sure that I am on the correct point and that I'm not off to the side of it. So I always seat the live center side first before putting it up against the dead center or the stub center. And then so again, doesn't have to be super tight. you know, you're going to be able to turn it by hand. Your tool's going to be doing all the cutting. So real quick, I'm going to try my little light here. Does that wash out things too much?
No, it seems
That wash
okay,
things
Dean.
out?
that's fine.
Okay, good. So let me get my face shield. And so we're gonna take a skew. We're gonna rough this bad boy out. Just get it round. We're gonna get to somewhere as close to 35 millimeter. And then we'll lay out the various dimensions. And so you want to let the tool cut. Because if you press too hard, you're gonna stop it. And when you're between centers, pretty much the safest way to turn, because if you do shove it in too hard, it is going to stop. It's just going to sit and spin. All right, so now we got a nice clean surface, and now we will mark off the dimensions. Of course, I'll put my story stick up, just like car keys, right where you put it, you know.
Dane, I think we get a better view if you went to just the cell phone camera from overhead.
Yeah, it's not big enough, huh?
That's
Oh,
better.
perfect now.
I
There we
got you,
go.
Dean.
All right, thank you. All right, so I use a story stick whenever I make stuff often. It's just easier that way. That way you don't have to, God, it sounds like I'm talking in a drum with this thing on. That way you don't have to recreate your dimensions each time. You know, take the time, make yourself a story stick, cut yourself out a little drill divot for your critical dimensions. You know, label them if you want to. And then so all I'm going to do is put this right here beside on top of the tool rest and up against the piece of wood. It's not going to pull out of your hand. Everything's coming towards you. And so now we'll mark our first one. That one's not a real critical one. That's really not a real critical, but that one's really critical. And that one's real critical. But that's just a guide there. And so right here, this is where the half-inch tendon is going to be turned, approximately 14 millimeter. And then this is where you can do your shaping for the bulbous end of the handle that's going to be going against the rolling pin. This is where your taper is going to take place. But this dimension right here is when you set it. This is going to be the dimension of about 14, 15 mil that you're going to be turning that offset to. And you don't want to blow by that offset or have the offset, blow by the offset of that 14, 15 millimeter dimension that you set, because then it's gonna screw up how that shape and feel is. And then you've got to, you know, turn it around and then start going back between both chucking points to try and get everything through up to where everything is proportional. And so what we're going to do next is turn the tenon down. Raise the tool rest up a little bit. I'm just going to hog that off with the skew. And again, you're coming in when you're doing these type of cuts. You're coming in. You're sitting about 10 o'clock, and you're just letting the wood peel off. You come in like this, you're scraping. You're up here on top. You're doing nothing but cutting. And because I don't have this tightened up a lot, you definitely got to take smaller cuts, and you got to let the tool, got to let the skew do its cutting. So let's see how close we go. Real close. You want to do nice clean cuts, that way you're not sanding. That's set. The next one is we're going to set the 15 mil here on the center. You want to cut to the left of where the offset turning is going to take place. And so I have found with parting tools that they cut, or at least for me, they cut way better at 1500 RPMs or less. I have to turn that up a little bit, or tighten it up a little bit. When I'm at a high speed, I find that it burns the wood. So you can see there where it wasn't cutting, the piece just stops. And so you want to go about 14, 15 mil there as well. You can be a little bit oversized because you're going to clean that up in the final turning process when you're making the match between when you're doing the blending from the offset to the straight part of the turning on the handle. Little bit closer. That looks close enough. Yep. So now I will switch out from the dead center to the live center, or to the stud center. And then one thing to keep in mind when you're having to use your knockout bar to knock something out of your spindle, it doesn't take a lot of force. You know, all you got to do is barely tap it, and then you always want to be able to catch it. You don't want it knocking out of your hand and dropping on your bed, hitting it, ruining the point, or damaging your concrete floor. That's a joke. Tough crowd. All right, any questions?
None so far.
All right, so once again, so I've got my offsets. There's your center point. So 6 mil on that side, 6 mil on that side. And so once again, I'm going to have it to where it's just close enough to where I know that I can feed this directly in, because I'm starting on the chucking point on this side, and then you squeeze it into your stub center. Water drink. And then so next, what you want to do is you want to bring your tool rest up. And then so with this chucking point like this, now you can actually put a little bit of pressure going against it, because all of the torque turning pressure is going to be coming against the walls of the tenon. There's no pressure, outward pressure. It's going against the walls. It's going to cause this thing to split. Does that make sense? Of course it does.
It did to me.
And for me, remember what I messaged you the other day, Brenda?
Uh-huh.
All right,
Listening.
good. And then for when I do offset turning, I always want to have my tool rest as close as possible, that 1/4 of an inch at least. And then I want to set that angle based on the angle of that offset. I'm going to set the tool rest to follow that line of a trajectory. And so I'm going to be using skew on this. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to bring this outer dimension in a little bit, because right now I think I'm sitting at about 38 millimeter, 39. And so I want to be closer to 37. And so since we've got two sides here, so I'm only going to take about 2 mil coming in straight from the side here with my skew. And then we'll start the carving process of it. So you can hear that offset. Speed is your friend. You're turning half of it is air. And so you can see the lines. So the lines are important, because that is what sets this line right here is your turning point that's going to set that part of your handle coming in. And so you want to try and turn just to that line. We'll see how successful we can be at doing this. So once again, speed's your friend. Good thing there was nothing that was going to break on that. So now we're just going to work on carving, getting some of that excess stock away here. That way you can get the bevel to do what it's supposed to do on your skew. In case you didn't know, you can actually cut with the toe on the skew. You utilize that other part of the blade that gets so sorely ignored. But you just got to be careful you don't get too aggressive with it, because it will remove some wood. Let's follow the same principles. Bottom third. Give you a little progress of what it's starting to look like. Shape goes real quick. I don't know if we'll be able to get in here with the pencil to where we can see it. But we'll just go ahead and mark it here. We want to turn right to that pencil and then over that width of the parting tool that set that dimension here. I don't know if that's coming through. No, not really. And so now we'll just work our way down. So the next step is to start coming in and working our way down, taking
Okay.
even cuts all the way across. Yeah,
Can you move the camera closer, maybe? Zoom in like? If not, it's okay. I thought maybe you could just move the camera.
yeah, I can set this down lower. And how's that?
That's better.
Hold it stiff. You're making me dizzy.
That's good, Dane.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet. You ask and you shall receive.
Oh my goodness.
Try it with the light out and see if it looks better.
That's even better, Dane.
Outstanding. I can't see now. All right.
Muscle
So
memory.
we're coming in. We're catching the toe, and then bringing it around to the bevel, and then just pushing and twisting the body around. I'm going to take light cuts. If you go too far, you got to throw it away. Let's see where we're at. Looks like we're about 2 millimeters from the bottom there. Just like walking a dog. About 1 millimeter to go. no shame in stopping and looking at what you're doing. You're almost there now. So now you can probably see that pencil line. And so you just want to take this all the way across. Let's see if we can do that in one fell swoop here. Look at that. Nailed it. That's surface ready for 320. So if you wanted to sand, now's your time to sand while you're on that offset. And then there's one other opportunity later when you profile the end of the handle in. So now we'll just do the same thing, change the point, reposition your tool rest. Bring that top piece in a little bit. So what you should do is start with that dimension priorly. And you wouldn't have to do this, but it's okay. Easily rectified. And go ahead and hog off some of this real quick. Stop and see where we're at. You want to make sure those two handle lines are joining together. We're in the same plane, so it looks like we're good on that. And we got about 3 millimeters down here at the base. And so like I said, it's just like walking a dog. Go a little ways, take a break. Take a little bit of wood. And then just keep taking a little bit at a time. Let's see where we're at. Pretty doggone close. Take 1, 2, go. There we go. So there we go. We can do one more bit to take off there. And again, you can use sandpaper. Nothing wrong with that. There we go. All right, so now that we're in this chucking point here, so make your oval handle. You start your parting process while it's in the off center chucking points, holding points. So all you got to do is take it in just a little bit, because you can't take in too much, because you still gotta have the dexterity of the handle in here to turn the rest of the piece here. But you're just going to take it in a little bit, change to your other chucking point, do the same thing. Or if you want to have a rounded end, then you do this process at the end, and then just part of it, do your turning process to part, to get it ready to part off at that time, and you'll make a rounded handle end. So it all depends on what you want to do there. So I figure for grins, we'll just go ahead and do an oval one here, because it's kind of neat. And then that's where that second line came in. I said it wasn't real critical, but it kind of is. And so it's I got written on here 8mm, and that was if you do a shorter piece of wood, you could actually get away with 5 3/4 doing this piece, but it leaves you a little bit of room here on the live center side. But that line right there is part of what you're turning to right now before you start connecting your residual line from the offset. Any questions?
So
Not so far.
did you do 2 sides or 3 sides?
No, it's 2 sides.
Thanks.
Sorry, grabbing some water. It's hot out here.
So 2 sides is all you're going to do?
Yes. Yeah, it's 2-sided.
Oh. Okay. I thought it was 3-sided. Okay.
9. All right, so using spindle gouge. Just rotating. Like I said, we're not taking a whole lot of material off. We're just trying to get that basic profile. Makes it easier at the end when it's being parted off with the skew. And you want to make sure that you're leaving enough room to be able to do the second offset. If you take too much, then you got to throw it away. And so you can see the taper where you meet up the contour here. Just use the black one, see the profile better. And so that's what we're doing, is making that profile, making everything meet from what was initially turned. I knew there was a reason why I did the black. That should be enough. And so that leaves you with a little football. So now you want to put it back on your center axis. Once again, same thing. Make sure you're Make sure you're on that center axis. Squeeze it in and torque it down. So now you're going to turn the outside here. And I try to get to where somewhere is around 30, 31 millimeter. It looks something like 30, 31 millimeter. It's not critical, but if you're making multiples, obviously you want to have something close. And you want to straighten up the tool rest. So I'm just going to take my skew again. I'm just going to hog off the majority of this. Skew presentation. Always try to cut around 10:30, quarter to 11. The angle, pretty much I'm at 35, about 35 degrees, but if you're between 30 and 45 is pushing it, but 30 and 45 degrees, you're not going to get a catch. And then as long as you're hitting that bevel, you're good. And you're just going to get an immaculate cut. If you're unsure what that angle is supposed to be, you can hand turn. And if you got the right angle and your tool is sharp, you're going to get little wispies. You know, they're going to look just like that.
You're using a curved skew blade, aren't you?
Yeah, I could use a square skew blade too. Again, the presentation doesn't change. Whether I'm using that style or using a pretty much a square style, or this one's crazy. This is my own grind. This is convex, or an oval skew that has a blade coming out. They all cut the same.
Yep. All that really matters is the angle that the tool is meeting the spinning wood at.
Being presented, yes.
Hey, Dane, what are you making anyway?
Were you late?
Yes.
Were you sleeping, Howard? I'm making a handle.
Rolling pin handle.
It's an offset handle. And so these are the handles that I make that go into my rolling pins, Howard. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yes.
Right on. All right, so now we need to remove some of the stock down here on this side. Oh, I never did check to see how close it was. Oh, pretty close. That's good. So once again, I cut about 10 o'clock. Just let the blade cut. And we're just hogging off material. You do want to be careful that you don't get gay with it and come down and screw up your profile that you just turned earlier with the offsets. Especially with cherry, because man, that stuff turns easy. So I'm just gonna make a little half bead on this side. Set that. We'll go back to the skew. And since I'm so far up on my headstock, what I should do is turn this thing around. Because I don't like to cut left-handed. So I do it the hard way here. And you just plow right through here, all the while making sure you're getting a good cut. Come back in and clean things up. And we'll just walk the dog, take a little bit at a time all the way down. You take that, make it nice and clean. Up against the indentations from when it was turned off center here. So next, you want to blend. Now you got to blend these little hard points. You want to make them nice and rounded here. So with that, we're gonna use the all-rounder for that. And my tool rest a little bit here. And you're just gonna go about 3/16 of an inch, no more than a quarter. And just gradually take that down. And then you'll rotate that into your cut. And then blend it backwards. So a little bump right there.
Dane, that all-rounder being more blunt-like than a skew, is it more forgiving?
Do what?
I said with that all-rounder having that more rounded, blunter cutting edge, is it more forgiving than a skew?
It's a different cutting action. So it is square crossed, but it's conical the way it's
Right.
sharpened. Your tool rest, so you're cutting at center. So your tool rest is dropped and the handle is down. And then you're always wanting to stay on the center line.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, it cuts great.
Well, it just, it doesn't look like it'd be as grabby.
If you were to hit that point, it's gonna light you up.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, as long as you're, again, you're following, it's probably more of a 30-degree angle will fit.
Okay, thanks. I didn't mean to
But,
interrupt you.
yeah. No, that's it. So, so beyond a little bit of sanding to take out my burnishing mark from where I was pressing too hard on the handle end here, we're almost done. Let me grab my other skew, get it ready, and we will finish up the handle here. Raise that up, move it over a little bit. Oh.
I like the shameless plug.
Do what, Billy?
I said I like that shameless plug.
That. So what I'm wanting to do is get the majority of this stock removed with the thicker, heavier bladed skew here. And then we're going to come in with the oval skew. Repair the rest of that off. They're just coming in with the toe. Handle is dropped. Finding that cut and then raising the handle. While meanwhile keeping that bevel against your wood. I'm having a hell of a time seeing that. But that's all right. We're almost there. And from there, you can pretty much break it off. Take your carving knife. Just break it off. You just have a little pin there. Take your carving knife, the chisel, sandpaper, however you want to do it, and that'll be broke off. Yeah, maybe if you turn a little bit more.
You didn't go thin enough.
Than I thought. A little thicker than I thought. Give myself more room. Now's the time for it to pop off the lathe, right?
I thought it was going to go a little bit ago. There it goes.
Nice
Ooh, nice
catch.
See, I was a wrestler, so I got really good eye-hand coordination.
Dang.
And then so there you are. Yeah, handle.
Nice.
Very nice. Thanks, Dean.
Great
And
job,
like I
Dane.
said,
Very nice.
fits
I
perfectly
do
in your
have one
hand, you know.
question though. You really
Yeah.
nailed that. Do you ever worry about the fact that when you nail it like that, that the roller may not roll right? Don't think about it, Dane. It was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
I need to drink. I need to drink some beer and get caught up. I'm sorry. I'm not having my wit about myself. Yeah, you know. So there you are. You know. Like I said, you put it back on the lathe. You can make yourself. You know, like I said, you can make yourself a little. Well, if you got to call it chuck, clamp down on there. If you wanted to do some sanding, go ahead and do your sanding. You want to do some dyeing, go ahead and do your dyeing. You know, like I said, for a demo, I'm not going to sand, but 320 ready, nice and clean,
Sweet.
and it's different.
Very nice, Dane. That's a neat idea.
Very nice, Dane.
All
I
right,
love the demo, Dane. That was a great idea.
all right, thank you.
Good
Outstanding.
demo.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah,
All right. First of all, that 1/4-inch hole that you drilled in the end that's going to go into the rolling
for the
pin.
handle in. Yep.
Yeah. How deep did you drill that hole?
Oh, sorry. 37 millimeter,
Which
which is about an inch and a half.
Oh, 1.5 inches.
Yeah. So you got a 1/2 inch here and then 1 inch here,
Right. Gotcha.
right? And that's
Right.
just so you have plenty of, good material to hold on, for the rod going into
Right.
the handle.
How do
What
you
do you-
secure
what-
that? How do you secure that pin inside the roller?
I epoxy them.
Okay.
All
Rough
right.
it up.
But-
Epoxy it.
What size is the rolling pin?
Yeah, let's
It
go for the
is-
rolling pin.
Oh, rolling pin, huh? So rolling pin is
2 inches.
So I'm guessing 2 inches, maybe 2.5.
I'm gonna say 2 1/4 maybe. Oh no. No, 2 5/8. Oh look, it's got a temple. So your old UVEX shields, these make great templates. So yeah, 2 5/8. This is what I use for sizing. And the reason
do
why
you
is
think
because
you could drill
when
that
somebody's
through?
working on it, they don't want to be banging their knuckles when they're rolling stuff out. They don't want to be
Right.
straightening their fingers out while they're rolling.
So
Yes.
Dave, how do you drill that thing out? You got a 2-foot
That was
drill?
my next question. I can't
Very
drill
simple.
straight. I mean, you give me a drill bit that's
So
over
you-
2 inches long, it's not going to go straight.
So you start with a 3-inch block of wood. And there's an English guy. He has the best adage ever. If it needs a hole when it comes off the lathe, it needs a hole before it goes on the lathe. So you drill it as a square block before it goes onto the lathe.
Okay.
And so you start with your center drill and you work your way up. You're only going to a 1/4 inch. And then the final drill bit, I use concrete bits and I cut off
The drill bit does not go all the way through the rolling pin?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, the drill bit goes all the way through. And so I use concrete bits and I cut off the end, because you've got that big, carbide tungsten cutter on the end of carbide cutters. You cut that off and then you regrind that steel. And somebody showed how to do that on Tips and Tricks back in March. I'm sure of it. And so you regrind it. Now you got a drill bit that's rigid, it's solid, it's going to hold up. and you've already got your 1/8 inch hole all the way through it. Now you come through with your 1/4 inch. You do half at a time, flip it around, drill the other half. Works marvelously.
Never
And then when you
matches
go to turn it, now you've got your hole. It doesn't matter if the hole went crooked through that 3-inch block of wood, because now you're going to mount it. Now you're going to turn it in accordance with that hole that was drilled.
Right.
That's the purpose, Brenda, of drilling the hole first. It doesn't have to be straight. Cause you're gonna make it, you're gonna turn it straight to that hole.
Yeah,
Where do you
that's
put the
what I
bearing?
keep telling myself with salt and pepper shakers too, and they're always crooked.
Do you drill them
So-
first or
so-
drill them last?
Uh,
So Dane, do your handles rotate independently from the roller, or are the handles fixed in the roller?
Now the handle is fixed, but I have a bearing on the inside, so it doesn't hang up on the wood. A lot of people will do fixed shafts going through, but if they don't have a bearing in there, then the pin's not going to roll correctly. And then when you put
So
pressure on
you
it,
gotta-
the pin,
So do you
the
got,
pin won't roll.
so you've got a hole all the way through the roller and a bearing on each
Yep.
end?
Yep.
Okay,
Offset on it's offset I don't know, 3/4 of an inch. So this is a 1/2 inch. Bearing is probably close to 1/4 of an inch.
okay.
And it's about, if I remember, I want to say it's 17 millimeter.
Do you glue the, you glue the bearings in there so they don't move or no?
I put CA, but I have that fits. I've got to press them in with, I press them in with the live center.
Okay,
So they are tight. They're not overly tight because I don't want to split the wood, but it is a tight friction fit.
okay.
And I'm yet to have one fail in 15 years I've been making them. So
Okay, cool. Thanks.
yeah, you bet.
But you
Any other
have
questions?
you have two sizes of concrete drill bit. You have one that's 1/8 of an inch and one that's 1/4 of an inch.
No, my final, the 1/4 inch one is the concrete bit that I use. Beyond that, I use, regular high-speed steel, 1/8 inch bits. So initially, I do a 4-inch drill, and then I'll go to I think it's a 6 or 8 inch high-speed steel. Oh, it's longer than that. 10 inches. It's an Irwin.
Mhm.
I'll pull it out. I'll show you the concrete bit that I reground. If I can get in there. Big fingers, little tight spaces don't work. So there's the
1/8
1/8
inch?
inch. That's the 1/8 inch. And then this is the concrete bit. And so like I said, I cut the end off and then I reground it.
Okay,
So you
That
cut the
is-
carbide off?
Yes. Because it's oversized. Otherwise,
I got you.
yeah. And the concrete bit will not flex, as long as, you, again, use proper drilling techniques, slow speed, back it in and out. Take your time. It's not.
Good night, guys. I gotta go.
good
All right,
night.
buddy.
Night.
And yeah, so that's what I use and basically how I do it. So and then to get the rolling pin to make sure it's flat, take yourself a flat piece of wood, piece of hardwood, and then you stick some sandpaper on it, and that'll take off any of the high spots that you may have. And I'm not
Okay.
seeing my flat sanding boards, but it's literally take yourself a 2-inch board, stick your sandpaper on there, and you just set it on top. And if you got any high spots,
Gotcha.
it'll be taken off. If you try to use sandpaper going back and forth on it, you're just going to make dips and valleys in that thing.
Mm.
So,
I
but
think
yeah,
I
that's
got
how
it.
I do it. Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes sense
Very-
in my head.
Very
Whether
cool.
I
can
Thanks, Dan.
do it or not, I
That's a
don't know.
great one.
Great evening. Great evening.